Hello? He calls me Child, Dusty Rose. A Conflict of Visions by Thomas Sowell. Sometimes I think the three writer names that come out of my mouth the most are Thomas Sowell, Jordan Peterson, C.S. Lewis. Controversies in politics arise from many sources, but the conflicts that endure for generations or centuries show a remarkably consistent pattern. This revised edition of a classic analyzes the centuries-long debate about the nature of reason, justice, equality, and power. It distinguishes between those with the constrained vision, which sees human nature as enduring and self-centered, and the unconstrained vision, in which human nature is malleable and perfectible. A Conflict of Visions offers a compelling case that these opposing visions are behind the ethical and ideological disputes of yesterday and today. I'd like to add on to that while in his other books it's pretty clear which vision he ascribes to, I think that in this book he attempts to do an academic study of the visions and show the strengths and weaknesses of both, and to trace their path in history. Well, I found this book because after having read like a couple of Thomas Sowell's books, I want to read everything he's ever written. So this was just one of the books on the list that I read. This book was definitely more difficult for me because it deals more with abstract concepts than concrete ones. So this was a step harder for me to process, and I didn't totally get everything he was saying, but I got most of what he was saying, I think. He did ground his abstract concepts pretty thoroughly with examples and historical references. I like this book because I feel like it is a book that may bridge the gap between people whose politics are radically different. It attempts to thoroughly lay out why each side is self-consistent in its beliefs and behaviors. I honestly think that reading this leads to a deeper understanding of both sides. Not a perfect understanding, but a better understanding. Oftentimes, each side is accusing the other of hypocrisy. You can't possibly believe that and that. You can't possibly be lining up that and that. But this book claims, no, they're actually self-consistent within their visions, and part of it is definition of words. The sides actually define words differently, and he goes into what each side believes the words mean. Communication is so difficult, and I think one of the basic ways that communication is not happening, at least in the political conversation, is actually the definition of words can be different to different people. So people are just talking past each other because they mean totally different. They can't even have a proper argument because they're arguing at totally different things. So he lays out defined terms, which is fantastic. And he also talks about the way certain versions of those visions actually became hybrid visions. And this was interesting to me because I've seen people who, classically on the right accuse people who are classically on the left of Nazism, and people who are classically on the left accuse people who are classically on the right, accuse them of Nazism. And I'm like, how can that be? Shouldn't it be one or the other? But according to Thomas Sowell, that was a hybrid vision, which I thought was the funniest thing, because what's happening then is that each side is seeing the fragments that are associated with the other's political ideals and correctly picking them out, but not the whole, like they're blind to the parts of their own ideology that were woven into that. I'm like, oh, that's what's going on there. Anyways, I would really love it if politics could be a thing that people could discuss again without throwing people out of their lives. That would be fantastic. And I think this book is one of those stepping stones. I think that reading this book would lead to more dialogue and less yelling. And that's why this book is on my channel.